Good evening, everyone. I am Danny Warshay. I'm the Executive Director of the Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship, and I am so excited to welcome all of you to the 9th Annual Brown Venture Prize Pitch Competition. So thank you all for being here. I always ask the same question at every event, and people tease me for it, but there's a reason for it. I'm going to try to see if I can see hands. For how many of you is this your very first Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship event? Raise your hand. Yeah, lots of people. Why do I ask that? I ask that because I want to welcome you. And when I hope that this will not be your last Nelson Center event, we always have a steady stream of new people. And so I'm really happy to welcome especially our newcomers. If you'd like to stay in touch with us, you can do so by signing up for the newsletter that we issue every once in a while at entrepreneurship.brown.edu. I also want to issue a special welcome to lots and lots of people who are watching us remotely, literally from all continents, from all over the world. Okay, maybe not Antarctica. I'd like to see if we can get somebody from Antarctica one year. But from lots of US states, from Uganda, and there's a special reason for that, as you'll see in some of the presentations, from the UK and other places around the world. I want to thank our donors, especially Richard Katzman and Jane Katzman, who have underwritten and funded the Brown Venture Prize competition for many years and have committed to do so for many years into the future. You're going to be meeting Richard. He's been one of our judges for many years, and Jane, I understand, is watching online. So let's give them a big round of applause. And speaking of donors, I'd be remiss if I didn't take advantage of the fact that this is actually the biggest event, if you combine everybody here today and everybody watching online, that we've ever had in the history of the Brown Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship. If I didn't tell you that we are involved in an addition to our campaign of raising $13 million more on top of the $53 million that we've already raised through the years. And we need to raise $13 million more over the next 2 years to help us scale and to do all the kinds of things we do curricularly, co-curricularly, and through venture support. There's links on our website. There's links unabashedly in all the newsletters you get. There's even a link at the bottom of the program that you can access through our QR code. None of this happens without the tireless effort of our staff. And I want to directly thank Sheila Haggerty, Katie Calabro, Monica Pan, Olanda Dos Santos, and our newest addition to our team, Carla McLaughlin. I want to thank all of our volunteers, student staff, student clubs, some of whom you've met representatives of today. I want to thank our vendors, New England Showtime, who's been with us for many years, Media Services, Partners Interpreting, Brown Catering, and a really heartfelt thank you to the Wheeler School. I know it referred to the idea that we're in Brown facilities. We're at the Wheeler School, and for all sorts of reasons, shortage of space at Brown, the Wheeler School stepped up and allowed us to do this, encouraged us to do this in their school. So let's give the Wheeler School a big round of applause too. If you love what you see tonight, if you're really excited about participating in more events, we've got events tomorrow. We have an event called a Founder Talk with Kit Colbert, class of '03 at noon, and consistent with the way that the Nelson Center events always work, we will feed you. So come for lunch. Kit is the platform CTO at Invisible Technologies. He used to be the VMware CTO. And in conjunction with Brown EP, the Entrepreneurship Student-Led Program, there'll be networking afterwards at roughly 1:15. But come for that event. There's a link online, and you should sign up so we know how many people we will be feeding. I also want to plug, there's an amazing student group that started last year and has continued with great momentum this year called Emergent. Their AI conference is coming up on April 19th, and lots of other things. You can, as I say, visit our website, entrepreneurship.brown.edu, follow us in our newsletter and our socials for more information about all of that. Now, why should you stay for the entire event? Well, one reason is, like I said, we feed you. So there'll be a networking and refreshments part of this event after the event. The other is you have a role to play. Our judges, who I will be introducing shortly, will be judging the pitches that you'll hear, but so will you. And we'll be awarding a fan favorite based on whom you vote for. And so we'll be facilitating that right after all the pitches. And the winners will win a special gift that I'll be telling you a little bit about in a little bit. So we are really thrilled to welcome our alumni judges. They are standing in the wings. And as the music starts, I'm going to ask them to walk and take their seats. You can read a little bit about the judges on our website. You can access who they are via the program. I'm going to not do justice to all that they've done and all that they've contributed through the years, but I thought I might tell you a little bit. There is a very big lift involved in being a judge for the Brown Venture Prize competition, and that involves looking through, reading through, deliberating through 38 entrants that we had this year, and takes a long time to do that homework and then deliberate, pare that down to our finalists tonight. By the way, I thought I would mention, in terms of achievement of past winners, just to give you a flavor for what happens after the judges do their work, they award their big checks, what happens to these student teams? It's certainly not the only indicator of success, lots of other indicators, but one interesting note is that the past winners of Brown Venture Prize have gone on to raise a total of $96 million in capital raised. Now, raising capital is just, as we say, the first part of the process, but it's some kind of a market validation that they're onto something and that our judges have done well. Richard Katzman, whom I mentioned before, class of 78, parent 14, is a member of our President's Advisory Council on Entrepreneurship. He himself is an entrepreneur, he's an investor. For many years, I knew Richard through his involvement in the precursor to the Nelson Center, the student-led entrepreneurship program. He's been an active mentor and a speaker at the Nelson Center. Kevin Bennett, class of 03, is the co-founder and CEO at Further. He is also a member of our advisory council. Last year, he was a featured speaker at the Nelson Center. He was also a mentor and has held office hours. Leah Fried Sedgwick, class of 90, is also an entrepreneur, an investor, and also has all sorts of involvement in the field of entrepreneurship. She's been a B-Lab mentor. Carla Gallardo, class of 05, was the co-founder and CEO at Kuyana. She's also on our advisory council, has been a mentor, member of the B-Lab selection committee, and a speaker at the Nelson Center. Jesse Haynes, class of 97, is a partner at Shakti Venture Capital. She's been a B-Lab mentor and speaker at our Summer Accelerator B-Lab. Jay Kim, class of 16, master's degree of 17, is a pre-seed and seed investor at Black Jays Ventures. He's been an active mentor, has held office hours, and I know you're thirsty to do even more, and we're trying to keep up with you. Jack Roswell, class of 20, is the co-founder and CEO at Perennial. And if Perennial sounds familiar, or its prior name, Cloud Agronomics, sounds familiar, it's because Jack was a prior winner of Brown Venture Prize. It's always poignant for me to welcome back winners of a prior year's BVP. 2018 winner, which was our very first Brown Venture Prize, and Jack is an active mentor of our students. So now on with the show. I'm going to explain briefly how this will work. Each venture is going to come out, pitch for 4 minutes. I'm going to keep them honest. They have a clock right here. And that's going to be followed by Q&A from 2 of our judges, also for another 4 minutes. The pitches will just run in succession. And so please join me in welcoming our first pitch, Che Innovations, to be asked questions by Richard and Carla. Thank you, everyone.
Every 40 seconds, one preterm baby dies, mainly because of hypothermia, a deadly drop in a newborn's temperature below 36 degrees Celsius. My name is Sajin. I'm a medical student at Brown, and this is my co-founder, Vivian. She's a biomedical engineer who lives in Kampala, Uganda, and who flew from Uganda to be with us today. Together, we're Che Innovations, and we're building NeoNest, a low-cost transport infant warmer made from a water jug.
I was born in Bushanje Bumbiri, Igara, where preterms and critically ill infants have to be transported to referral hospitals over 6 hours away in ambulances, wrapped in a bedsheet with a hot water bag to keep them warm. By the time these newborns reach care, they are cold, blue, and most of the times already dead. This is not a problem in my village alone. Globally, every year, 2.5 million newborns die, mainly due to hypothermia. Even with the growing African infant warming market to over $1 billion US, communities like mine still rely on just a hot water bag to keep newborns warm during transport.
That's why we built NeoNest, a low-cost transport infant warmer made from a water jug. Our outer container is made from a jerry can, the same container Ugandans use every day to carry their water around. Our outer protection is made from boda or motorcycle guard railing. And our heating system consists of an electronic water mattress sourced from material found in Ugandan greenhouses. Our competitors are traditional transport infant warmers that cost well over $5,000. In contrast, NeoNest costs just $70 to make and is priced at $200.
This year, we completed our first IRB-approved feasibility study in Ugandan ambulances, where we found that NeoNest is able to maintain newborn temperature between 36.5 and 37.5 degrees Celsius for over 6 hours, preventing hypothermia. Now, to gain early market traction, we have sold an accessory of the NeoNest device called the CheNest in over 18 major hospitals across Uganda, which has enabled us to serve over 100 newborns every single month.
Our team is spread across 3 continents. I've previously led a low-cost surgical tool into inhuman clinical trials in Uganda. And Vivian, just a couple days ago, was awarded one of Africa's top 100 most impactful women. Our advisors have supported more than 80 medical devices across low-resource settings. And together, our team has been awarded more than 11 Global Design Awards for the NeoNest.
This shows we are ready. We've built NeoNest. We've tested it and validated it with over 500 clinicians and stakeholders across Uganda. We plan to sell to private and public hospitals through local distributors. As a matter of fact, we've received a pre-order from Ministry of Health Uganda to supply the entire network of over 6,000 hospitals in Uganda after we've conducted our clinical trials. This is why we need the Brain Venture Prize. With this award, we'll be able to obtain the certifications necessary for us to initiate in human clinical trials for the next 12 months. And in this process, we'll be able to save 500 newborns as well as unlock a greater market.
The traditional Ugandan song that you heard at the beginning of this presentation is a celebration of the joys of living life in Uganda. But it's been almost 4 minutes now, and that means 6 newborns would have never heard that song. We're Che Innovations. We're building NeoNest, a low-cost transport infant warmer made from a water jug. And we believe every newborn deserves more than just a hot water bag to survive. Thank you.
Okay, Richard and Carla. Just talk.
Okay, hi. Congratulations, your passion is vibrant. We can hear it.
Thank you.
Could you share with us a little more, how do you compare to the other low-cost neonatal warmer in the region, Embrace? And if you can walk us through the differences, both economically and operational.
Of course. So Embrace is a low-cost infant brace for neonatal infants. And we actually surveyed 500 ambulance workers, hospital procurement officers across Uganda, and none of them mentioned that Embrace was actually being used in hospitals, specifically in transport between rural villages and national referral hospitals. And the main reason for that is because Embrace isn't designed specifically for the transport context. And we actually met the advisor of Embrace at a local conference in San Francisco run by TechCrunch, and he was super supportive of our device and potentially being expanded across not just Uganda, East Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the continent. So in comparison to Embrace, our device is meant specifically for the transportation context, which requires safety, as well as a long-term temperature maintenance, which Embrace is only able to do for around 3 hours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good answer. Two questions. One is, how are you powering your device? But my first question really is, what, the passion, as Carla said, is amazing here. What personal connection brought you to this project?
Yeah. So in 1972, my father was expelled from Uganda under the dictatorship of Idi Amin. And through the Duke McCary Biomedical Engineering Fellowship, which we were both part of, I was able to return to Uganda as the first person in my family. That's why this project is so meaningful to me. But even more impactful, I met Vivian because we were randomly assigned as teammates during this fellowship. And we lived together, we worked together, we went to church together, we bargained at markets together. And that's how we ended up at the Brown Venture Prize today. In terms of your second question, sorry, what was your second question?
How the device is powered.
How the device is powered.
Oh, how the
Yes,
device is powered,
yes.
I can answer that. So we use wall power, we use battery power, and we have an option of using the Neonest even when none of those is available, because we plan to use it even in areas with no power supply. So with wall power, you can plug it in an ambulance. Our ambulances have power sometimes. Then also, when the power is not available, it has a rechargeable battery, so it automatically switches to a battery. With power, you can infinitely use it. With a battery, you can use it for over 6 hours. And when you do not have any of those, our installation is able to maintain the created temperature for over 1 hour. And even when that is not possible, you can get the pack itself, warm it, and use it also while you don't have anything. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, let's give a big hand to Che Innovations. I'm noticing, I'm sorry, I feel like I have to orchestrate, but I'm noticing there's people standing in the back. There are plenty of seats, or some seats. If you're sitting on the aisle and it's possible to move toward the middle, I think that'll make it a little bit easier for people to find seats. Either aisle, move toward the center. And we'll invite the people who are standing in the back to just find a seat if you can. Okay, right now, please join me in welcoming to the stage Dawn Industries, and Leah and Jack will be asking questions.
We are Dawn Industries, building the future of manufacturing. Manufacturing is behind every industry. From the car you drive to the laptop you're using, manufacturing is the heart of our economy. But America is losing the ability to manufacture. 1 out of 4 workers is nearing retirement, creating a 2 million labor gap. And when seniors walk out the door, decades of critical knowledge walk out with them. Factories are losing trillions. We're losing the capacity to make what matters. Now, finally, we have AI to preserve that knowledge and make it usable. But factory work is physical. Hands are busy. Information is all over the factory floor. AI in a laptop never works in factories. Manufacturing is a different game that calls for a different tool. And we built that tool, VIM, Virtual Intelligent Mentor, a frontline manufacturing OS delivered through AR glasses. VIM's AI captures and analyzes what's happening on the floor and provides hands-free guidance exactly when and where it's needed. Picture an automotive assembly line. We provide 3 things through Vim here. 1, a step-by-step video instruction showing exactly how experts operate. 2, instant detection of mistakes or defects. A surface dent, an incomplete engine, detected right on the spot. 3, troubleshooting chatbot. When a machine is down in a factory, the worker can ask Vim how to fix it. 3 things again: automated video instruction, instant issue detection, and troubleshooting chatbot. And behind this product is a professional team. I'm the CEO from Brown, leading with experience as an ex-founder of a venture-backed and acquired startup. Robin here, our CTO from Columbia, leads engineering with years of professional work and AI expertise. Sujung from MIT is behind our hardware with a strong background in physics and electronics. And our advisors back us with industry expertise. From former Raytheon VP to major nonprofits, we built Vim together with manufacturing professionals. And companies are already paying for Vim. Our first customer, an aerospace parts manufacturer, with more demos lined up. That's a worker using Vim in a factory. He tells me, "Hey CJ, Vim is so easy to use, and I can finally teach others without wasting my time." That's Vim's real impact. And this impact is recognized as a runner-up winner of the highly competitive AM Startup Award by SME, one of America's largest manufacturing organizations. Bottom-up calculations using our pricing shows that we will make $17 billion a year just in the US, $300 billion globally. This is one of the biggest markets in the whole world with a massive financial opportunity. This prize will help us onboard more customers that are lined up here to get us to our seed round funding in June. The $25K will cover the development and compliance costs for deployment. The BVP will take us to a repeatable rollout. A country that can't manufacture can't compete. So if you care about manufacturing, if you care about rebuilding the heart of our economy, award Dawn Industries the prize tonight.
Thank you.
Leah and Jack.
Hi. This is on. So you clearly answered a problem in the manufacturing space and other work process situations. So my question is that I know you've shown that other existing hardware has limitations, but the cost of the hardware and the production of it is still a hurdle. Why can't you use off-the-shelf hardware and focus on the AI software part?
Yeah, I'll have my CTO Robin to answer that question.
Right. So as we mentioned, there are a lot of hardware products that are out in the market right now. For example, there are products like Google Lens or Apple Vision Pro, which are very heavy actually to use in these manufacturing environments. They have to wear this daily, all the time. So it is very heavy for them to operate in these environments. And on the other side, we have these lightweight but cheap glasses, such as Meta glasses, but they are not fit for these industry compliance environments. And on top of that, the software ecosystem for these glasses are not mature yet. So in order to equip our software inside the AR glasses that we are operating, we need to have our own set of hardware that manages and operates on our mini PC that is on top of our ecosystem.
Yeah, just to add one line, basically, all the headsets are too heavy to use, and the Meta glasses, the cheap ones, their display is really bad. And we talk to manufacturers, hands-free guidance is so important. They need some glasses, but nothing exists. So we took an off-the-shelf glasses, we converted it to an industrial environment, made it portable, and deployed it with our software.
So our main focus is on the software. We use ruggedized AR glasses to actually deliver our software to these operators on the shop floor.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on securing your first customer. Can you share a little bit about what you've learned so far from your first customer and how that's changing your go-to-market?
Absolutely. So our first customer, they've been with us since November, and back then they weren't a paying customer. They were just interested in our product. We showed them the capacities. We refined our hardware through it, the controls, so they can use it more fluently. Now they're completely satisfied with it, so they helped us get to this form factor. But also we modified our software a lot to make this really seamless, so the workers can just work how they do it, and they just introduce and explain how they operate. And our software is really seamless. Every recording, every audio transcript extraction, key point extraction, it's all very seamless. So we learned a lot, and they're really happy with this. We captured 3 operations till now, and they're happy with capturing these knowledge of the 55-year-old seniors who's going to leave company in 3 years, and we're capturing everything then. Then if they have a new project they use and a new project that they have to use some old knowledge, they can use that. So they're very happy with it. We reinforced our problem that knowledge transfer and knowledge capturing is so important.
Okay, let's thank Dawn Industries. Our next presenters are EndoSwim Solutions. Jay and Jack will be posing questions.
Se la pasan diciendo que soy mala, porque no me aguanto la demanda. Así vienes a mi cama, a mi cama.
All of you intuitively understand how slime behaves. It's sticky, messy, and incredibly difficult to handle. These fluids all behave the same way due to their high viscosity. Viscous fluids are routinely encountered in a number of industries today, and they're the direct cause for significant industrial failures. From lawsuits due to inadequate quality control to expensive equipment getting stuck and destroyed. Each of these fluids can cost a company hundreds of millions of dollars. Thousands of companies are desperate for a way to move through these fluids. But existing propulsive systems are fundamentally unable to generate thrust in these environments. Ultimately, this is a fundamental physics problem. No viscous propulsive system exists today. But we've been turning to the first systems that have been able to reliably move through these fluids, microorganisms. Due to their size, our lab has determined that these organisms actually swim through most fluids and experience them as being highly viscous. So we've been studying the mechanisms behind how they can actually swim through these fluids. We've been studying the fluid mechanics specifically behind these mechanisms and engineering robotic systems that capture these. Now, we have a scalable industry solution, the first mechanical viscous propulsive system. We successfully convert electrical energy into a controllable mechanical thrust. This isn't just new hardware, it's a fundamentally new propulsive architecture. And this makes it extremely difficult to replicate or compete with us. We are backed by Brown's Tech Transfer Office, where we are aggressively patenting and protecting our products. And we have 2 core products already developed, the standalone propulsive system, as well as the first mobile viscous robotic sensor. These aren't just prototypes. They're fully validated MVPs with real-time data capture, wireless controllability, and validated performance in the lab. We've chosen our initial beachhead market as industrial fluid monitoring because we already have local interest from local manufacturers who want to gain a data-driven insight into their industrial fluids. So we begin with a simple hardware sales model, selling directly to industrial customers. This allows us fast deployment, immediate revenue, and a scalable installed base. The $25,000 prize tonight would enable us to manufacture an industrial-grade product which is already in demand locally. And access to the alumni network via the finalist New York City trip is critical for us as we scale right here in the East Coast. Ultimately, our team was only made possible by Brown University. From our amazing customer discovery interns to our advisors that guide our technical, IP, and business strategy, we are a proud byproduct of Brown's ecosystem. As founders, Dr. Zenit and I bring deep technical expertise and real-world entrepreneurial experience. I've previously scaled deep tech products, and I've already committed to staying at Brown post-grad while I'll be scaling this venture. So ultimately, we have 3 main takeaways for you. First, we have a true sustainable competitive advantage. We aren't a product that you can easily just AI generate or reverse engineer. Second, we're able to execute now. And third, we are born at Brown and deeply Brown-centric. Our success is Brown's success. Judges, I've learned that entrepreneurship is the true vehicle to scale innovation. So let's show the world what innovation at Brown can achieve. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And I love, by the way, the simplicity of your slide deck, especially with the hook on slime. You know, you talk about how the first application of the technology is for industrial fluid monitoring.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about like, what is the actual value proposition that you're providing? You know, like what are they getting if they
Absolutely.
install your system?
Yeah, so these companies, whether it's food manufacturing, pharma, chemical, etc., currently use industrial sensors in their pipelines, pipes, infrastructure, etc., but they're currently fixed. So they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to install numerous sensors in these kind of infrastructure. And ultimately, this leads to a bunch of wasted cost and also a lot of dead zones within the fluid that aren't accurate or measured. So our system is actually able to navigate these fluids and thus able to actually collect more accurate measurements for less cost.
Great, thank you. Quick question around the manufacturing side of things.
Yep.
Obviously, hardware is very difficult. It takes a lot of time
Sure.
to iterate, a lot of cost to go through the process. Can you just walk us through the process it takes you to get to this specific form factor, and if you some like other possible application that you're considering outside of this initial ICP?
Yes. So I'll actually answer the first part of that first and then come back. So we've already received licensing interest from our technology, for our technology from a number of different companies in a number of different sectors, because like I said, as industrial fluid monitoring is the initial market that we're targeting just because of local interest that we've already received, a lot of these bigger companies like deep tech, or not deep tech, defense, Navy, etc., want to install these kind of systems so they can dislodge their expensive equipment that gets stuck in, you know, the ocean floor, etc. So we actually see a lot of interest from the deep tech, the blue tech, you know, economy right near here, right next door in Newport as well, who want to license our technology to actually do something like that, some dislodging tech. In terms of manufacturing, so I don't have time to go through the whole bill of materials, but we've calculated an expected bill of materials that takes us from where we are today, our current version of the product that's developed in the lab, so from 3D printer resin to actual industrial grade materials, right? From our circuits that are using specific wireless receivers, transmitters to industrial grade versions of that, and calculated a cost per unit. And ultimately, we still have extremely high margin on our costs. So we've already sourced a couple of local manufacturers who are willing to do the hardware aspect, actually, you know, our device. And then we're currently manufacturing our circuits in China. And we're able to mass produce those.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Wait, can I ask?
Yeah.
What happened to other? We read an original proposal of yours. I was just curious. That was for gastrointestinal
Yep.
observation.
Yeah, so I've had a long journey at, you know, with entrepreneurship at Brown, and I actually started this research with that particular use case in mind. I wanted something that could actually swim through inside the body, not just the GI system, but actually, you know, within the bloodstream, etc. But obviously, with medical device, you know, it's a big dream, right? There's a long regulatory pathway around these. There was actually a recent article where I think people are trying to start doing these with magnets, but ultimately, a self-propulsive architecture like this is not our initial go-to-market. So while I started this for the medical applications, ultimately, this is a viscous propulsive architecture that's much bigger than just one product like that.
Thank you, EndoSwim Solutions. Let's welcome Helping Hand RX, and we're going to be asking Jay and Kevin to pose questions. Just have your microphones ready.
Hi, my name's Teddy Nuttall. I'm a senior here studying history and economics, and I spent this past summer in the investment bank of Morgan Stanley.
Hi, my name is Manolo. I'm a senior studying computer engineering here at Brown. This past summer, I worked at Palantir in biotech and construction.
And together, we're Helping Hand. I want you guys to put yourselves in the shoes of Bob, a 60-year-old from Pawtucket. He just received some of the most devastating news of his life, a lung cancer diagnosis. His doctor prescribed him an immunotherapy, but what he didn't let him know is that next month, he'll be on the hook for $5,000 out of pocket. Bob is forced into a choice, one between financial stability and life-saving treatment. Which would you choose?
You may think that Bob is an outlier. He isn't. In the US, 1 out of every 3 people struggle to afford their prescriptions, and 1 out of every 7 abandons treatment due to costs. People cannot afford the prescriptions, and the irony is the savings resources exist to afford them.
Whether that's copay cards, pharmacy discount cards, cash pay pharmacies, or even foundation grants, the savings exist in abundance. So then why do only 18% of eligible patients actually take advantage of them?
To understand this, let's put ourselves back in Bob's shoes. After 3 phone calls, 5 emails, 3 accounts on 3 different websites, he finally gets his hands on an application.
And if he gets to this form, he's then left to navigate complex legalese, complicated eligibility rules, in weeks of coordination with his provider, prescriber, and insurance company.
And that's why we built Helping Hand, to revolutionize the way that Americans save on their prescriptions. In 6 simple questions, we're able to match Bob to all of the plans that he's eligible for. Then our agent takes him through the entire process with an upload of his ID or insurance card. We're able to autofill forms and then submit on his behalf.
We've taken a process of 3 weeks and turned it into 5 minutes, helping Bob gain access to life-saving treatment. But he's not the only one that wants to save. On an annual basis, the fundamental gap between patients in desperate need and prescription savings resources costs providers over $15 billion in lost revenues and costs, and manufacturers over $30 billion in lost pure margin revenue. So we built Helping Hand to bridge this gap. By solving for the patient, we actually solve for the system. In helping Bob gain access to his prescriptions, we are able to unlock the upstream trapped value for both providers and for manufacturers.
And what's really beautiful about how we fit into this system is that by integrating with providers at the point of care, we gain direct access to Bob and the millions like him.
And that's part of why our value proposition to manufacturers as our main revenue channel partner is so compelling. We gain them direct access to the marginal, non-adherent patients most likely to go off of their meds. This direct channel also makes us an incredibly compelling partner down the line for integration with other prescription savings resources, creating a new marketplace in the United States for the way people save on their drugs.
In 2 months, we've gone from idea to fully functional product. And just recently, we signed a partnership with Needy Meds, one of the largest affordability nonprofits in the United States.
Brown Venture Prize funding allows us to perform a security audit to ensure HIPAA compliance, immediately putting our product into patients' hands this spring with a pilot partner like Brown University Health, whom we're demoing this coming Tuesday. In the next 3 years, we look to scale this platform to cover 6 million patients, netting over $300 million in ARR. But more importantly, in the time it took us to speak with you today, just a couple of minutes, Bob could have used our first product to gain access to life-saving treatment. Please join us in giving the millions of Americans just like him a helping hand. Thank you.
Congrats, great presentation and incredible progress in just a short time. When it comes to commercialization, how do you think about go-to-market and some of these names with potential partners are large, can have large sales cycles? How do you navigate around that?
Certainly. So what you're getting at is the heart of our monetization strategy as well as our roadmap. So let's break that into 2 parts. On a purely mechanical level, we charge a fixed cost and a variable cost to both of our channel partners. That means for providers, we charge them an integration fee as well as a per patient success fee. On the manufacturer side, we charge them a fee to host their savings resource. That's something they already outsource, but just to far less effective third parties. And we charge them a per patient success fee. An application reviewed fee. And so we have the fixed and variable cost on both sides. That means our incentive is to scale as our partners actually see the platform being used and therefore seeing return on their investment. And to your second point in terms of market and the names and the roadmap. So if you look at 45 billion and you look at integration with providers and integration with manufacturers, it seems rather daunting. But that's looking at the mountain versus the actual path directly in front of us. Our roadmap is much simpler. With a pilot launch this spring, with, for example, the Brown University Health, we gain two things. The first of which is a direct channel to those marginal non-adherent patients, most likely to go off their medication. And the second is the ability to build out a case study with very real proof of concept and the verifiable metrics that we can then leverage to sell into the manufacturer networks who are desperate for a channel to get to these patients whom they want to be on their prescriptions.
Great answer. I think the first thing I want to ask you before I go to my main question is who came up with the logo?
So I have a little brother who's in film school right now, and he has a production company. It's called Buddy Productions, and their logo is a stick figure running away from a tornado. And so as we were thinking about kind of how we wanted to brand this, I was on vacation with my family, and I was messing around with him saying, you know what, I'm just going to take your logo. I'm just going to take exactly what you guys are doing. And he got so mad that I started to actually consider it. And we also, just on a more serious level, we think that just a simple hand-drawn message conveys trust, conveys warmth, and kind of does exactly what we're trying to do, which is demystify healthcare and make it very simple for the end user, the person who's actually trying to help.
So for the real question, what are some of the target outcomes that you are trying to prove out with some of your initial ICPs for Brown Health? Like, is there like a specific savings target, a specific number of like patients that you want on board for you to earn the right to like increase the monthly, subscription fee that you're talking about?
Certainly. Why don't I take the start of this, then you tackle the end of this? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to see if we can take a patient population. Again, not to harp on the Brown University example, but let's use it. They have 1 million patients on their plan, and let's say about a third of them are in that category of non-adherence. Like we said, 1 in 3 Americans. Our test case is if we can get those people on that plan to the same level of adherence as a self-funded employer plan. So for example, like a FedEx, with a deep-pocketed payer plan, can we see if we get that patient population to a similar level of success as that other level? And like we mentioned, it's just a game of can we have this proof of concept, build the case study, leverage that to go into the manufacturer networks.
Yeah, no, just to reiterate on that, it's super important for this pilot to really give us the metrics to then be able to sell into manufacturers. And yeah, I think you've covered the rest.
Okay, let's thank Helping RX. Let's welcome Liv to the stage, and Richard and Kevin will be asking questions.
Tengo a una, mañana otra. Me la voy a llevar a todas pa' un VIP, ey. Saluden a Titi, vamos a tirarnos un selfie. Say cheese, ey. Que sonrían las que ya les metí.
8 years. That is the average wait time for affordable housing in America. That means if everyone here applied today, some of us might get it by 2034. Now we're thinking, okay, it's due to the lack of infrastructure and housing. And that's half the problem. The US is currently now short between 4 to 6 million affordable housing units. But the other half is a solvable problem, paperwork. Last year, the US spent $40 billion on pen and paper workflows. That's faxes, fax machines, pen and paper, and manual data entry. How do I know this? My name is Devin Abraham, co-founder and CEO of Liv. I'm a proud graduate student getting my master's in technology and leadership here at Brown. I grew up in a town in Long Island that was impacted by redlining. I am fully aware that where you live, down to the street of where you live, impact your trajectory. I then went to go work for New York City's Housing Authority, lasted only 6 months, because I knew the only way to make a difference was to leave and to start Liv. What we do at Liv is we turn documents into automated workflows. We see documents like cities. Documents are like traffic, right? A lot of these companies don't have the proper infrastructure, such as bridges, tunnels, and roads. What we do with our software, you're able to submit a document, automate workflows, and data extract. Let's look at one of our clients, New York City's Department of Buildings. Right now, inspectors are going out to buildings, taking out a pen, taking out paper, manually entering data, coming back to their office, re-uploading it, and sending an email to someone's inbox, which we don't respond for weeks. But with Live, we're able to take this document, extract data sets, generate workflows, then understand what parsed documents are there, automate that workflow, understand where it's going, and be able to track the document. We're able to take that workflow from 3 weeks to 3 hours. Who are we? I survived WeWork on the early days. I went to go work at New York City's Housing Authority, and I'm currently a Brown graduate student. My co-founder, Bachema, who I met at YC Startup School, grew up in affordable housing in Philadelphia, got his engineering degree from Penn, and he led AI and automation at Credit Karma, and I convinced him to leave his well-paying job and get paid nothing. Right now, we have $10,000 MRR. We're backed by Robinhood as well as Cornell Tech with $90,000 in funding. We started around 5 months ago, and we went from 0 to 10,000 MRR. We have our own LLM that's being trained on government documents, permitting, compliance. We are not a ChatGPT wraparound, all thanks to Bachema. See, Stripe modernized payments. Our goal here is to modernize workflows. Raise your hand here if you use ChatGPT. Okay, so you're fully aware from prompt 1 to 10, it gets slower and slower. It's about 90% accuracy rate. From prompt 11 to 20, it's called exponential decay. It gets worse and worse. We filed a patent, I misspelled it up there. We filed a patent that allows us to reverse that by creating more AI agents to increase your accountability. Right now, we're focusing on the public sector, but our software is agnostic to every sector tomorrow. We're looking to raise $25,000 from our full pre-seed round of $500,000, $350 that's already committed from our prior investors. This will allow us to do a 90-day sprint to expand into our current contracts. See, we're going to automate paperwork. We're going to automate pen and paper workflows. But what we're really doing is adding time back to people's lives. Join us as we change affordable housing from 8 years to 8 hours.
Thank you. Thank you. Great presentation. So I used to write some software for my company, and the key is, and when you work with other companies as well, automating a process is one thing, but a lot of companies, they don't even really understand what their processes are, or the processes are fundamentally flawed and broken and have dead ends and bottlenecks and things. So how are you improving the process, or what do you do if the process doesn't exist really? I mean, they have a form that goes to nowhere sometimes.
Of course, it usually gets stuck in an inbox for 3 weeks, but yeah. So right now, for example, the City of New York, their Department of Buildings, I would say 90% of it in this phase is relationship-based. We're coming to them and breaking the ice and saying, hey, we're not replacing your job, we're giving you a tool set to allow certain documents to be processed quicker and faster, which is, AI and software will remove certain documents, but there's a lot of things that humans could do themselves for that department itself. So it's really a lot of relationship-based. That's how we've been approaching City of Philadelphia. We're a finalist at City of Miami. Us coming there, creating the relationship first, understanding the tool set, showing how much time we could save, but it all comes down to how much dollars we're saving as well.
Impressive presentation and great progress. Go-to-market question around public sector, which can be a really tough first sector to break into. How do you think about managing the sales cycles and breaking in and getting quick momentum when it comes to go-to-market to help fuel your initial fundraisers and growth?
Yeah, so government sector is definitely one of the hardest sectors to get into, but it goes back to relationship. How we landed Travis County in Austin, I went on LinkedIn, added the CEO online and said, hey, I'm able to save you X amount of time. So it all goes back to relationship-based. As I mentioned in one of our slides, our first focus right now is the public sector. But at the end of the day, we're talking about documents. We've been approached by legal, health clinics, et cetera, to automate their workflows. And we see that as our larger market. But right now, it's to be doubled down on focus. For example, with New York City's department, once we get approved by OTI, there's other departments all throughout different agencies that we could start getting involved with, sanitation, etc. So that's kind of our focus. We're fully aware that it's a larger life cycle. However, the average contract is 3 to 5 years, mid 6 figures. And then by then, our focus would be to expand healthcare, legal, etc.
Thank you, Liv. Let's give them a round of applause. Next up is Nemetex, and Jesse and Jack will be asking questions.
Hi, my name is Christopher Williams. I'm a senior here at Brown studying geology, biology, and computer science. And this is Nemetex, the natural safe solution to $150 billion in crop loss. And it's all caused by this, the plant parasitic root knot nematode. It has a host species range of over 3,000 different plants that it can infect, and is present all across the world, highlighted in red. What it does is it burrows into the roots of crops, knotting them up and stopping them from taking up crucial water and nutrients. All these factors combine in the root knot nematode being responsible for $150 billion in crop damage every single year. If we could help to recover this loss, it would be enough to feed 300 million people. Current solutions to root knot nematode infestation are both chemical and biological. The chemical alternatives are ecotoxic. They indiscriminately kill your soil's microbiome, tanking your farm's long-term fertility. They're also carcinogenic to mammals, which means that farmers that handle these chemicals are at a greater risk of getting cancer. The biological solutions, on the other hand, are imprecise. They act as immune system support, helping the plant to fight off the root knot nematode, but never addressing the root cause. And that's where our solution of using Pisturia penetrans comes into play. It acts like a self-replicating minefield. Once its endospores are applied to the soil, they lie dormant until it comes into contact with the root knot nematode, at which point it attaches to it, replicates inside of it, sterilizing the root knot nematode and releasing more of its endospores to continue and repeat the process. There's 3 key advantages to using the Nemetex product. The first is that Pisturia penetrans is a naturally occurring microbe. And the second is that it's completely safe to use. It's been given a residue tolerance exemption by the US EPA, meaning you can use as much of this microbe on your farm as you want with no repercussions to human health. And the reason why it's so safe is because it's specific. It only targets the root knot nematode and relies on doing so to complete its life cycle. This is also what makes our innovation of being the first to culture Pisturia penetrans at commercial scale so special. It's a delicate balance of keeping the host crop alive for long enough while infecting it with as many nematodes as possible to maximize the spore yield. The techniques that we use to culture are currently held as trade secret with plans to develop intellectual property around it. The need for Nemetex is seen in our ongoing 1,000-acre test trial with the #1 producer of soybeans in the entire world, SLC Agricola. They're also Brazil's largest farming company with over 2 million acres under management. And beyond this, the opportunity is massive. The nematicide market is projected to hit $5 billion by 2030 at a 10% compound annual growth rate. Working alongside me to scale Nemetex is my longtime mentor and CTO, Herman Burima. He brings an extensive background in tech and finance, but he's also been farming in Brazil for the last 17 years, with particular expertise in growing cotton, which can get decimated by the root knot nematode. Our microbiologist, Cristiana, specializes in Pisturia protocols, and our agronomist, Odair, has over 40 years of experience growing the exact strain of crop that we use to culture Pisturia penetrans. Funding from the Brown Venture Prize will go directly towards culturing more of our product, as well as acquiring more lab materials. Within a year of moving to Brazil, with the funds from Brown Venture Prize, you would expect to see Nemetex to have completed our initial 1,000-acre test trial with SLC Agricola on their soybeans, to have completed another trial with SLC Agricola, but this time on their cotton pivots. This is currently being planned. And lastly, to have secured at least 2 fully paid farm trials, which would allow for us to pay for regulatory approval out of cash flow. The Brown Venture Prize would be supporting the natural, safe solution to $150 billion in crop loss. That's Nemateks.
What an amazing solution to a serious problem that I didn't know anything about, and I've learned a lot from you and your team. What is you've come up with the solution? What is going to keep competitors from sort of trying to retro engineer once it goes once it's deployed more widely?
Yes, so what we produce are the natural spores of Pisteria penetrans. And Pisteria penetrans has been studied since the 1980s. It's not a new bacteria. And people have been trying to culture it for a very long time. I don't want to say if they could reverse engineer, they would have done it by now, but the biology of it being an obligate parasite makes it incredibly difficult to do so. You have to try and do it inside the living organism.
Yeah, just to continue, yeah, what a niche problem, but so important. Great job, Christopher. So I think my question is around the go-to-market. It's extremely difficult to sell directly to farmers, and then also from a distribution perspective, there's a really high concentration when it comes to big ag and chemical companies. So how do you think about like securing contracts with them, and what is your long-term go-to-market strategy?
Yes, we're very fortunate to be in a position where we're in trials with SLC Agricola, and with 2 million acres under management, we would like to keep servicing their needs. Beyond that, Aracatu Fazenda, where the founding team all works, is in Cooper Este. It's a local cooperative in Mato Grosso with 110 members, and the average size of a farm there is about 2,000 to 10,000 hectares. So we would ideally go out and try to get our product into the cooperatives networks. They're particularly important because they also have the financing solutions, the barter system, which is very common in Brazil because liquid capital is a bit of a problem there. And as for what most other biological pesticide companies are doing in Brazil right now, they're actually building out their own sales fleet so they can maintain their sort of brand equity in the fact that they're a premium biological product and really go after the evangelist farmers that believe that regenerative and bioproducts are the next wave. If you do license to big ag, what tends to happen is your product gets bundled up with a bunch of their other chemical offerings into a generalized like premium seed treatment that has 3 things, and you lose control of how your product is applied.
Thank you, Nemateks. Next up, please welcome to the stage Sub-6 Nutrition. Carla and Jesse will be asking questions.
I just can't stop. You're my adrenaline rush. Oh, I can't live without the way you lifted me up. Said I'll quit this feeling, but I wanted.
Good evening. My name is Vijay, and I'm the founder of Sub-6 Nutrition and the creator of Sap Fuel, a clean endurance supplement built because the current options are destroying the health of athletes. I've been an endurance athlete for my entire life. I was a rower in high school. I am currently on the crew team here at Brown, and I'm training for Ironman events. I have my fair share of experience consuming highly processed sports supplements, and I've always felt terrible. I never attributed it to what I was consuming on a daily basis, day after day, training session after training session, until I dug into the research. I realized that this was a problem not only faced by me, but others felt the same consequences. Maltodextrin is the primary source of carbohydrates in most sports gels and powders. Peer-reviewed studies show that maltodextrin degrades your gut lining and suppresses beneficial gut bacteria. This can have massive downstream health consequences. It can lead to irritable bowel disease, immune dysfunction, autoimmune disease, and so much more. Massive corporations like GU Energy fill their products with maltodextrin for two key reasons. One, because it is cheap, and two, because it's easy to manufacture. And they are doing this at the expense of the health and the well-being of their consumers. There are 700 million endurance athletes across the globe, and it's an $8 billion market. We've seen massive shifts in consumer awareness around ingredients. Just recently, Pepsi bought Poppi, a gut health friendly low sugar soda alternative. In the same way that there are labels that have low sugar or zero sugar options, there will be no maltodextrin labels on endurance supplements. Every ingredient in Zap Fuel was chosen because it is both natural and effective. Our primary source of carbohydrates is organic dehydrated maple syrup, which actively protects the same gut lining that maltodextrin destroys. Our sodium source comes from French gray salt, and we have complete the profile with an electrolyte blend that supports overall hydration, muscle function, and recovery. We have created the cleanest carb supplement on the market. I founded this company in December of 2024, where I launched 40 at-home prototypes that led me to Sap Fuel. We soft launched 2 months ago with me self-producing 100 servings at a time in my kitchen, placing new orders for ingredients and packaging with the profits from our current sales. We have tested our product with over 200 athletes across almost every endurance sport, and we have Division I adoption in numerous schools, some of which are Yale, USC, Pepperdine, and Cornell. We have spent no money on advertisement, and all of our sales have come from organic social and word of mouth. After validating our product during the soft launch, I contacted over 30 manufacturers. We landed on one. With BVP, we plan to place our first purchase order. This unlocks institutional sales, gets us on Amazon and TikTok Shop, and pushes our first meta campaigns live. The category leader, GU Energy, built their company to $133 million in annual revenue on the back of maltodextrin. We are the clean alternative that is going to replace them. I'm a senior at Brown, and I'm currently working at Vibe CPG, an operator and investor firm that scales small CPG brands. I'm learning how to operate a fully funded consumer brand. Our advisors are people who have done exactly what we have done. Austin Patry built his company Realsy from 0 to 10 million from scratch. And Matt Mullinax graduated from Brown, built his career across finance, and co-founded Huron, a men's personal care brand. He's helping us build a strong financial foundation for Sub6. I was sick for years, and I never understood why. My teammates are fueling their workouts with processed products that are making them sick. And 700 million endurance athletes struggle with the same problem. There has to be a better option. Sap Fuel is that better option. If you want to protect the health of athletes, join us.
I'm very passionate about clean ingredients and clean food, so congratulations for attacking this white space.
Thank you.
Can you walk us through a little more through the financial side and the unit economics? As you mentioned, go after clean ingredients is more expensive than the tradition, what we're seeing right now in the market. And so, would love to learn how your costs compare to what's out there and how you see that when you scale the business and making sure that it has a nice profitability path. And then at the same time, not only looking at the cost of ingredients, but not sure if you've thought through your go-to-market strategy and the marketing side of things, also an impactful metric within your profitability. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll answer both of your questions. First, starting with more of the unit economic side. So currently, we offer a 10-pack that costs $30 and $3 per serving. And that costs us 78 cents to produce, which puts us at about a 74% profit margin. We are moving to a full-scale manufacturer, and we're going to be launching bulk bags, where we're going to be aiming for an 80 to 85% profit margin, which puts us in a fantastic position. In terms of competitors like Morton charge $3.60 per serving and above. So people are willing to pay for these products at a premium. In regard to the go-to-market strategy, I plan to break this down into 3 prongs. One is the grassroots aspect. I plan to attend numerous local marathons and events to really make sure that we're getting out the product to people locally. We're also establishing a strong athlete community. We have people running 240-mile ultra marathons that we've signed, NCAA D1 rowing national champions. We have a strong group that we have put together that are helping us build our social media following. And in terms of our strategy is we really want to maximize our lifetime value of the customer by pushing our subscription so that we have a really strong LTV to CAC ratio.
Well, it was just there you go. Do you have any data on that repeatability and how that impacts your LTV so far?
Yeah, it's very early stages. We've had a few subscriptions, and it's hard to keep up with subscriptions because I'm currently producing the product myself. So it is highly dependent on waiting for ingredients to come in. So I don't have a ton of data around what the repeatability of that actually is. But hopefully when we have more product, then I'll be able to give you some more feedback there.
I have a son who's a high school rower, and I can't wait to tell him about this.
Awesome.
It sounds like you've gotten your product into the hands of some athletes out there. Tell us a little bit about what you're hearing back from your customers. Are they feeling better? Are there things that you're learning, and are you making any modifications to the product as you get that feedback?
Absolutely. We've only had positive effects when it comes to both effectiveness and like how well it sits in people's stomachs. So no one has ever told us that it doesn't sit well or it doesn't process well. It's very easy to digest. What we have learned is that people who care more about their health are not usually college students. It is more so people who are 25 to 45 who really are thinking about their longevity and very in on on how things like that work.
Got it.
You just lost us.
Thank you, Sub6 Nutrition. Let's welcome to the stage UApply. Jesse and Leah will be asking questions.
Welcome to UApply, the future of higher education access across Africa. My name is Lucas.
And I'm Max. So I want you all to meet Reina. She's a high school student in Kigali, Rwanda, thinking about applying to university. You'd think it's as simple as her writing an application, sending it off to the school, and either being accepted or rejected. But it's not. For students like Reina, this process is fragmented, it's confusing, and it's often offline. And to the small segment of universities that have digitalized systems, they're many times not accessible via computer, only mobile phone, they're only accessible via computer, not mobile phone, even though the vast majority of students have a mobile phone. So right across the border in Uganda, there's another great university. But Reina, it finds it difficult to transfer and exchange currencies digitally, and going to apply there in person is just too far away. So overall, she has all these universities, but many of them are inaccessible. And even the ones that are accessible are burdened by additional inefficiencies like scanning and printing documents, which are many times not done at home. And what we can say is this entire process is inefficient, it's time-consuming, and it's expensive.
That's why we built UApply, a simple, intuitive platform that allows Reina to apply in just a few clicks, right from her own room. Now, Reina and millions of students like her can apply not just locally, but to universities across the continent. Let's have a look at just how simple the process can be. Reina answers a few questions about herself, her preferred language, her name, her contact information. And just like that, she can browse and filter through many options and pick the one that's best for her. She fills out a couple more forms, uploads her documents, pays digitally, and submits, just like that. Now, the university side of things, unfortunately, is not much better. In my experience in Rwanda, these admission officers are overwhelmed. They're dealing with cabinets full of paper applications and receipts. But with UApply, they can do everything from analyzing, from reviewing all these applications from directly within our software. It's built with a core of flexibility that means that it can work for any university with any admissions flow in any country. The whole team can now work together more productively and more collaboratively. We're integrated with government systems, meaning we can build a reliable and robust product that universities feel that they can trust. And we offer features that provide value from the very first day. It's clear, looking at all these differences, that UApply, in the way that we leverage these pieces of digital infrastructure that have only recently reached maturity in the region, is that we offer something that others just simply do not.
Right, so UApply's team is rooted in both Brown and Rwanda. Moise and Flambeau, our co-founders, were born and raised in Kigali, Rwanda, and experienced this process firsthand. Matter of fact, it was easier for them to apply to university in the United States than in their home country. Together, the four of us, around a year ago, founded UApply at Brown, and since then, we've finalized our technology, we've raised an angel round, and we've assembled an incredible team of advisors with experience from the United Nations, from the Rwandan government, and from global admissions. And on top of all of that, we have a strong presence in East Africa with 5 university partners at some of the top colleges there. So how does UApply make money? Well, there's 2 sides to the business. Students will pay a one-time application fee that's relatively small, while universities pay an annual scaled membership. As you can imagine, with scale, these add up. So the Brown Venture Prize would prove pivotal in UApply's trajectory. You guys are actually the first to know that we're in negotiations right now with the Rwandan government to write legislation to make UApply the official admissions gateway across the entire country. And something of this scale requires financial resources to ensure that our people on the ground are backed up, to make sure that we're compliant with all the regulations, to keep good relationships with the existing and new universities, and most importantly, to make sure that every student can apply successfully.
UApply is not just a tool. We're building a more connected Africa, where talented students can more easily cross borders. They can learn from each other, and they can build a strong culture of opportunity, of collaboration, and of unity across the continent. So join us in supporting the next generation of talented African students. Thank you.
So you all have demonstrated some great knowledge and focus in Rwanda, and I think your pilot has 5 universities signed up so far. So, but there are 54 countries and 2,400 universities, you note. I'm a little confused as to how you can do a sort of common app where maybe half the countries speak English, and if I'm assuming you're in English for Rwanda, and how each country has not necessarily the same regulations and university associations and rules.
Yes, I think it's fundamentally a one step at a time problem. In terms of languages, we support all the official languages of every kind of country we're in. And as we enter more, we kind of make sure we're compliant as we go.
Right, on top of that, we're not trying to tackle every country at once. We're starting in Rwanda because we have good connections there. We want to prove credibility in our success. From there, it's only a snowball effect. As more universities are on the platform and more students are using it, more countries and schools within those countries are going to be incentivized to get these international applications. Our goal is not to get every single country and every single university, What we're trying to do is to make sure that students have the opportunity to apply wherever they want into the programs they desire to.
Talk a little bit more about what's in it for the universities. I understand that there's kind of a headache, but how are you ensuring with the administrative processes today, but how are you ensuring that your system can connect with whatever local processes they're already working with, and and a little bit more also on kind of like how you're thinking through that $7,500 subscription fee and whether or not that there's really that willingness to pay there.
Yeah, I'll tackle the first half of that question in terms of like how are we building something we know they want. I mean, I mostly built the platform this summer in Rwanda, and I was meeting with these people, very often, getting feedback and iterating. And at this point, I kind of understand that system quite closely, but it's also, like I said, kind of very flexible. As to the point of what value are we providing, international students are very valuable for these universities. They pay increased rates, and that's something they really want. We offer them a better visibility. That's something that they really want. And also we have the kind of like enterprise software side of things, which is also really valuable for them if it's going to increase their productivity.
Right, and where does the $7,500 pricing come from? Well, when we were spending time with the universities, we also looked at the amount of money that they're spending on existing processes as well as for their team. And that was an estimation that we came up with. It's not set in stone, but it's definitely reasonable. And obviously with some universities, like the universities in South Africa that are much larger, that's going to range a lot higher. And for the small private universities, they only accept a few hundred applications. It's going to be much lower.
It's definitely a case-by-case basis.
Do you have an example with one of the universities with what's the rate of enrollment, what's the rate of application, what's the cost, so that you can back into the university pricing?
Yeah, so UNILAC, which is one of our 5 partners, is the one we've worked directly the closest. We've looked at their financials, and we've made estimates that they spend close to that amount on the existing processes, and then they're gonna boost their revenue because we're gonna be bringing in more applications for them, which was something that we're promising.
Okay, let's thank you, Apply. In fact, let's thank all the 8 teams, and let's thank the judges. Every year at this point, I'm just very thankful that I'm not a judge. I think this is a really tough challenge. We're going to invite the judges to convene in their judging room, deliberate for roughly 15-ish minutes. You all now have the opportunity to vote for your fan favorite. I see some people lobbying. That's fair, I guess. But you can scan the QR code you have before you. It'll take you to a voting platform where you can vote for your favorite. And when we reconvene, I will announce the fan favorite. We'll ask our judges to join us again, and they will award 3 literally big checks. So I also encourage you to walk around, meet people. I'll ask for the house lights, I think, at some point to be up. And once all that is done, we will open the food and drink and encourage you to enjoy that as well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Tobias. Thank you, Bob. Okay, everyone, please welcome back all 8 teams and give them a big round of applause. I know we're all eager to hear who the winners are. I wanted to take a moment to thank Secretary Stephen Pryor for being with us today, along with his colleague Lloyd Ocean. I met with them both to give them a tour of the Nelson Center. I gotta say, it's one of the things that makes living and working in Rhode Island a fantastic thing. You have the Secretary of Commerce and his colleague come to the Nelson Center, take a real earnest interest in what we're doing, offering us support, and vice versa, are offering him support. I thought I would give him the microphone to offer some quick greetings.
Oh my goodness, I recognize everyone is in suspense. First of all, can we give a big hooray to Danny Warshay? How amazing is the Nelson Center and this program? And to the A teams, on behalf of the state of Rhode Island, congratulations just for doing a phenomenal job, win or lose. We are so impressed with you. I bring greetings on behalf of our governor, Dan McKee. And I just want to say extremely quickly, because I too am in suspense, I just want to say very quickly that if you are an entrepreneur, if you competed tonight, if you are out in the audience or within reach of my voice, and you are thinking about where to place your venture, where to nestle yourselves upon graduation or when you move on to even greater things with your business, Rhode Island has all kinds of supports, both non-financial and financial, and to mention a few of them very quickly, we have something called RIHub that Danny is very involved with, and Brown University is, along with multiple universities, that will help to support you through venture mentoring, through space at our Cambridge Innovation Center curated shared space. We have that. We have financing. We have something called an innovation voucher in Rhode Island, where if you pair up with Brown University researchers or URI researchers or Salve Regina researchers or our medical centers, we'll help to pay the bill for the next generation of your research. We also, if you create jobs in Rhode Island, which some of these companies are going to, they're going to create jobs somewhere, you know it, we're so impressed, we can help to pledge back the personal income taxes generated by the jobs you create to your company to help you grow. So these are just examples of what we've got. Also, by the way, Thorne Sparkman is here. Thorne runs the Slater Technology Fund. We have our own venture funds right here in Rhode Island. Thorne, thank you for what you do. So Danny, there is a wealth of resources in Rhode Island, some of them human, some of them financial, that can help you really take it to the next level, and no state will stand behind you better than Rhode Island. Thank you so much. Congratulations in advance.
Thank you, Secretary Pryor. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. I am really pleased to announce, with a very close vote, the fan favorite is Nemateks. Now we're going to invite, with big checks hidden, the judges to reconvene, or at least to come up on stage, and we're going to announce the 3 big winners.
I am, well, the third place, right?
It was a really hard deliberation, and we really congratulate everybody. For third place, we have Helping Hands.
I don't, but I have for second place, Nemateks. Congratulations.
So I have 3 quick things to say. One, we could have rearranged the order of these prizes multiple ways. I want to congratulate all 8 teams that presented today. It was fantastic presentations. Second thing is, we could have filled the 8 spots here today with 8 more of the applications that we saw this year. There were so many strong ones. So just the work that Danny's been doing at Nelson is amazing, how much creativity and passion and talent there is. And on that note, the third thing is, it really reinforces my conviction that I wouldn't get into Brown today. So I'm really glad I went a long time ago. And with that said, the grand prize this year goes to Che Innovations. So,
right. Thank you. That was, I'm sure, a very difficult deliberation. I want to echo what Richard said. This is tough. It is not easy to get up in front of a jam-packed room. Those were the best presentations we've ever had in Brown Venture Prize. I think I see a lot of nodding heads acknowledging that. Richard, you've been here many years. Thank you for all the incredibly high-quality work that you put into this. This, as I said before, with respect to venture funding, is the very first part of this journey, not the end. And so I hope you will, all of the 8 teams, will feel really proud of the work that you've put in to get to this point. And you now have a whole bunch of supporters behind you who will never forget what they heard today. And we look forward to celebrating all of your success for many years to come with all the support that Brown and the Nelson Center, and now we know the state of Rhode Island, can also offer you. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to encourage all the teams to stick around so we can take some pictures with the judges. And everybody else is invited to just walk across the hall, enjoy some refreshments, and meet people, because that's the nature of entrepreneurship. Thank you all for being here this evening.